Launch Today is the podcast focused on what it takes to get your new business to a couple $1 million in revenue. From marketing tactics to incredible guest interviews, we focus on sharing behind-the-scenes insight from masters in their field. If you want to grow the revenue for your startup or business, you don't want to miss today, because joining us is the master of Facebook ads and unforgettable creatives, Barry Hott. Barry's journey in the world of marketing and advertising began in 2008, diving headfirst into the burgeoning world of social media ads. I remember back then too. Since then, he has mastered every facet of the ad space, from crafting branding campaigns to optimizing direct response strategies and becoming a sought-after growth consultant. His expertise spans a wide array of industries, including telecommunications, automotive, consumer packaged goods, and direct-to-consumer. Known for his unconventional approach, aka make ugly ads, Barry has helped brands like AT&T, Toyota, Microsoft, as well as startups like True Classic and Lumen Skin achieve exceptional growth through his innovative advertising techniques. And he's just launched a new course on building great ads called Building Ads with Barry. Barry, thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Amazing. Thank you so much for that warm welcome. I'm honored to be here. Thank you for having me.
So you've been in this space for a long time, you and me both. I think my first marketing job was in maybe 08, 07, somewhere right around there. So we got gray in our beards, though I keep mine cut shorter than you do. What have been some of the most significant changes you've seen since way back in the ancient days of yore?
Yeah, some of the biggest changes. We've been through all of them. I remember when advertising was just in the right column. I remember when Facebook ads, we didn't have a pixel. I remember when CBO, campaign budget optimization, became a thing and everyone was scared of it. And fun fact, I was actually at a media buying software startup at the time where we like to think that Facebook saw what we were doing and was like, oh yeah, we should do that. Where we had literally an optimization system that would optimize ads. At the time, they were campaign budgets, I think. Maybe their ad set budgets, whatever it was. We had a thing that would manage the budgets for us. And they were like, oh yeah. So we always felt like, oh, they stole that idea. I think it's also an obvious idea, but alas. And I've just seen more recently just the focus on better and better creative. If I could have made the creative I make now 5 years ago, I can't even imagine. It's also just changed. Consumers have changed. The media they're consuming is changing. It's harder to keep up with than ever before. Is there something I should dig into more specifically?
I think I agree. Change is one of the constants in all the tech space, everything, all of it. Marketing too.
Yeah.
I remember when a 20-to-1 or 30-to-1 ROAS on Facebook was like, yeah, I'm not that excited.
Yeah, sure.
And now you're like, wow, 5-to-1.
Oh, dude, most I'm running is like 1. Like we're like happy to lose money.
Oof.
We're playing an LTV game.
Yeah, fair enough. So you've got behind you, right, make ugly ads.
Yeah.
And I think a whole lot of what I'm doing as I do early message testing for clients, I would quantify as ugly ads.
Good.
They have no design of any kind, just words, right?
Great.
And I've seen tons of ways of stuff you've shared, how ugly ads outperform the beautiful package, perfect design. Why is that? Why do you think? Why do these work?
There's so many reasons. The first is actually what you said. Like, you can make more of them faster, which just means, and the way you just said it is great. I love hearing that. You're talking about focusing on messaging, and it's the messaging that matters. And you can't assume that your messaging is just going to hit. I think that's been the industry for forever prior to like performance marketing, really. There's just, oh, we're marketers. We know what's best and we'll just put it out there and people will buy. And then they like make their case studies and whatever. Then they don't know if they drove one sale or all the sales. But now we know. We fundamentally know what ads are working better. So for us to be able to make quickly and easily with low friction and hopefully very little red tape, we can make lots of ads. So like really make ugly ads should be like make lots of ads. Like that's like what it's about at its kind of base core. That's the first part, is that you get more reps. The second part is we're making stuff because you're making stuff in a more his lo-fi way. You're often making stuff that's more similar, and it looks and feels more like the stuff that consumers are actually consuming on these platforms. So yeah, like it's those two things combined, and probably a couple other things, but like those two main things combined that make ugly ads just a simple, huge win for everyone. So I'm sure I think there's probably a third component, but those are the main two.
But then I got to ask,
Mhm.
make ugly ads,
Sure.
but you have one of the best setups I've seen in a month.
Thank you. I'm honored. You are literally day one of this setup sorry, late. This has been here. This is not new. This is not new. Okay. But I am actually talking to you through a brand new fancy camera and a teleprompter mirrored setup. Yeah. I am looking dead at you right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I need to
And
get one
like,
of those because my camera's all the way up here and you're
right.
down there.
Right. And like, to your point, like a lot of people are like, Barry, you make ugly ads, guys. Why do you do this? It's because no one is consuming this content right now. Like, Barry, you make ugly ads, guys. Why do you do this? It's because
I
then
will.
then I'll arguably be wrong. But even then, like when you look at, if you go on TikTok, you go on Instagram, and you look at podcast style things, those things are shot nice. And those clips are on those platforms. So fundamentally, even if you take a clip of me right now, looking polished with a very fancy light, with a nice neon light in the background, it will still make sense in that setting. I'm not making stuff pretty for the sake of being pretty. I'm not doing it because I think it's like good. I'm doing it because it helps make me look the way things are. I'm seeing other content creators make things look. That's what I'm doing here. And I'm not doing it based on what other advertisers are doing. I'm doing it based on the content that people are consuming, the content that I consume and the content other marketers consume. That's what I'm studying. And so this isn't the style of content I would suggest for making ads for a D2C brand. This format, this lighting, it's probably not the right look, although some of it could be. Like I'd probably, instead of having the mic on a stand, I'd probably handhold it. Like if I was shooting an ad, because that's more kind of ugly native, but you get the point. I'm going to keep making more polished stuff because I'm making this for marketers, and marketers tend to like more polished stuff. And I actually really love the juxtaposition of this plus me making not ugly stuff. I really deeply love doing that because I want to get the attention of those marketers who think the concept of make ugly ads is just appalling.
I've known a few. Where
same.
Even when the data says this works, they go, but it's not pretty enough for me.
Dude, it's my nightmare, my absolute nightmare. And I'm very fortunate to, at this point in my career, not have to deal with those people anymore.
As the freelancer, I run an agency, right? So the client's always right, even when they're wrong. So I've had some clients who you're like, yeah, brother, like, you're right. You can demand the lower CTR, the lower CPA, the lower ROI ads are the ones that we go with because they're prettier and it's brand experience. Okay. Now, if that matters more to you.
I won't bite my tongue. And I also like generally really work hard to put that vibe out there. So I want someone to see this piece of content and be like, I would never want to work with that guy. And I don't want to work with that person. And that's great. That person would hate working with me and I would hate working with them. But the people who are like, oh yeah, I need a guy who's going to come and just say what it is and he thinks, I'm going to say it. I'm not going to hold back. And I'm fortunate enough to only want to work with people who appreciate that and can hear that and can handle that. Like, I'm not always right, by the way. I can be wrong. I'm wrong a lot. In fact, the only reason I'm any good at any of this is because I'm wrong all the time. And I let myself be wrong. I fail all the time. And I learn all the time. Try and find the clients that like want that. They want the passion. They want that fire. And they want my true opinions on something. They want me to fight for what's right. And they want me to make stuff that works above all, above ego, above whatever, right? That's what matters.
Yeah. the footer of my website on CrowdTabers says we bat 100. And I'll get people every once in a while who
That's
say,
great. That's
yeah,
fucking.
don't you mean 1,000? I'm like, I really don't. I really don't.
Yeah, you might. Yeah, that's great. Oh, I love that so much. Like, you could probably give yourself more credit than that. You could say 250. Like, that's still
No,
really
but the
good.
thing is, I
That's
know
too good.
I really bat about 100.
That's
I
funny.
really do.
I love that. On my site, I just changed the like first thing on one of my main landing pages for myself is I'm sorry your ads suck. That's the first thing I think it says on the page. And I'm like, I'm just like trying to like, and again, I was talking to my wife about this exact point today. It's like, she was like, yeah, I think you could be a little bit more empathetic. Yes, I could. But if someone's going to come to my website and see that and be like, this guy is a jerk, great, goodbye.
Great,
I don't want to, I don't,
I get it.
I am a little bit of a jerk. I'm a little bit of a jerk. And that's part of what makes me great. Sometimes.
I think it is, like, I've recently set up at CrowdTabers, we no longer will try to fix someone's broken CRM. We're just like, look, you're going to get high level.
Mm-hmm.
We set it up right. It's free. You don't pay for it. And we're going to put stuff here because it's so much work to figure out how you broke your HubSpot that I'm over it, man. I'm not doing that anymore.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
is that being an a-hole? A little bit.
Yeah.
But it's also like I would spend 90 days trying to figure out why leads weren't filtering correctly through whatever they had set up. I'm just like, why waste 3 months of your life and mine?
Yeah.
Right? When I could just, here, done. I duplicate what I knew worked.
Yeah.
You set up, it's ready in one day.
Well, you gotta focus on the things that generate revenue or value,
Yeah.
right? Even if it's not directly revenue, value.
Yeah.
And like, I do so poorly with like tedious garbage work. So like when I sniff that stuff out, I'm like, hey, let's focus on something that'll make us more money. Let's focus on like I'll say that to a client. I'll say that to a brand. Like, hey, yeah, we can obsess over this, but let's stop talking about this like little aesthetic thing. And let's take we'll be on a meeting talking 5 people talking about what we think about aesthetics, about some whatever. And I'll be like, hey, if we put any of this energy into the storytelling instead of the aesthetic, we would be doing way better.
Blue or green button, no one cares.
Maybe there is some. Yeah, you're mostly right. There is some. Just test it, right? Like, there's no need for conversation.
Yes.
There's no need for a conversation around
Yes.
that, really. Like, the conversation is, do we think this is high impact, or do we have evidence that suggests it's high impact?
Yeah, and
wherever.
Even if we just think it's high impact, great. $100 48-hour test, figure it out, right?
Yeah.
And do 50 of those. You spent $5,000.
Yeah.
And then every argument around, is it this or this or this, is done. And you go, great, this is what works. Now, how do we scale?
See, that's where I also will slightly disagree. Because like I think there's a thing about creative diversity there where sometimes it's just using lots of different things on ads, particularly, is what works. So you don't want to just choose, okay, it's blue is the winner. It's, I don't know, we'll use some blue ones and we'll use some green ones and we'll use some red ones and that whole swarm, because like literally some colors just resonate to some people more.
They do.
I don't really gonna obsess over colors like that. That's not the thing I'd prioritize. But
You're a
I just
very
meant that as
purple
an
dude.
example. Sorry?
You're a very purple dude.
Yeah,
Like,
I'm
purple and
I'm
yellow.
all
It's a
for it.
brilliant, like they're opposite ends of the color wheel. I like
Yeah.
how you've got the contrast set up. It's good.
Thank you. I appreciate it. But yeah, I don't know. I would bet that purple isn't the most optimal business color choice for me.
Is everyone okay? Are you a lawyer? And I'm like, no, you know what these are? I have every National Geographic from January 1949 to December 2023.
Can we talk about this for a second? Because
Let's do.
what you just said is actually really important. What you just said, people ask me all the time if I'm a lawyer. Apply what you just said to every ad ever. That, right? You're the focus of this content, right? And even just a call, you're the focus of the call, right? But if someone just sees your setting is a bunch of what I would also think are legal books,
Yeah.
I would be like, oh, this guy is a lawyer or married to a lawyer or the son of a lawyer.
I am the son of a lawyer, come
me
to think
too.
of it.
Nice. Oh, that's so funny. But yeah, like that, like the setting matters. So like my setting is, I don't know, like a messy, whatever. I don't know, it's messy, whatever. It's a little fun little office. But like, I'm not usually shooting ads here. But when I am shooting ads, I'm usually trying to setting where I am is something or where the background is something I really do calculate and think about. It doesn't have to be perfect. I'm not saying to go spend $20,000 renting a fancy house.
Right.
Maybe do that if you're selling a luxury piece of a luxury watch. That's the make ugly ads move, by the way, is shoot it on your phone, shoot it ugly, but shoot it in a private jet. That's luxury, right? Shoot it in a Bentley. That's how you make it feel luxury. It's not about shooting it on the fanciest camera. It's about making it feel relevant. So I just think it's funny. Yeah, it does look like you're a lawyer. And maybe I don't know what you can look like. Put some toys back there or something. I don't know. You got a great mustache. Like, put something quirky back there.
So I work out of a shack that I built in my backyard.
Love it.
And every other wall except this one looks like this.
Okay, sure.
And so it used to be when I'd call people, they'd be like, are you being
okay?
held hostage? Blink twice if they're forcing you here against your will.
Yeah.
So I put this up to be like, it's a little better than the please help me.
It is. I'm just telling you, let me get a toy, get a prop. I just have $10,000 cash just sitting as a prop in the background.
That's pretty cool.
It's just prop money.
Of course. I wouldn't keep 10K real money right there.
No, but it's hilarious. I think it's funny.
I do like this backdrop behind me for one reason, which is you can go look at the old ads, right, in the old Nat Geos, which are brilliant.
That's awesome.
And I love talking about things like, what does your message say versus what you meant?
Oh my gosh.
This is the gayest Irish festival. Now, in 1956, they were selling something different than they'd be selling now.
You're right.
Right?
That's great.
And the photography, the copywriting, all that, it's so brilliant in all these old Nat Geos. I love having them to page through and think about. And it's a good conversation starter sometimes.
I agree. I'm going to use that to talk about ugly ads. The thing, I'm sure you know this, but like the reason why I say to make ugly ads also is about making ads that make sense in the platform where they are, along with the content that's being consumed.
Yeah.
What you just showed me, if you flip through that book, right? The other content in there in that book is polished. It's well written. If there's photos, they're going to be professional. If there's images, they're going to be professionally done, because that was the norm. That was what the content was. And so the ads should look that way to match it. So it feels right. That combined with the fact that it used to be very expensive to make visuals, to make images. So those two things combined, if you look at what used to be, and that's print ads in print things, had to be polished, had to be like really good. Now it's the opposite. A lot of the content we consume is ugly and low quality and not perfect. It's very imperfect. And that happens because it's so much easier and cheaper to shoot anything. So it's easier and cheaper for just regular humans to shoot whenever they want all the time. Everyone has a camera in their pockets constantly, and they just shoot stuff and they post stuff. So you should be making ads in that similar, like almost thoughtless aesthetic. Put some thought into it, but try to make it look thoughtless. I don't know if that makes sense.
Simplicity is the greatest sophistication, right? You make it look effortless when you put that effort in making it look effortless.
Mm-hmm.
I think this brings us to a good point, Barry.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Building ads with Barry.
Ooh.
This is the course you are putting together.
Yeah.
Who was the course for? We'll start with that.
That's a great question. And it's something I struggled with because like I always try to figure out what is my audience? It's like agency people, right? Like my content attracts agency owners, people, media buyers in agencies, business owners, founders, CMOs, growth people, creatives. I had to try and figure out how to make something that was just taking a lot of what I know and what I'm good at and what I love and making it valuable to a lot of them. So the course is mainly about creative but there's also a big component about how to make sure that you're media buying in a way that allows you to learn, that allows you to make sure that you're making stuff for audiences that will help you grow rather than just making ads for your warmest audiences, because that's a trap that a lot of marketers fall into. So the course is really I think if you're a small business owner with a small team, like it's either for you or for your whoever's running your marketing, or for both of you. If you're at an agency and you want to level up, if you're at an agency, you own an agency, it's a no-brainer. The things I'm going to teach are so stupid scalable. One idea you'll get from me should pay for the whole course. And especially, that's what I say for most people, is like literally you're going to get so much material, and we're doing 4 weeks of weekly calls, like weekly live sessions. Anyone who's taking this should be able to get at least one idea that pays for the entire value of the course. Like, that simple. And I actually, personally, this is not a tactic. I hate how little we're charging for it. So I don't know how soon this is going live, but if it's, the pre-sale ends soon. So I don't think this podcast is going to be while that's still available.
Yeah,
But
probably not. We're probably running 2 or 3 weeks out
so
from
then
today.
definitely not. So
So
sorry,
yeah, definitely not.
you can cut that if you want, but
right.
leave it. It's fine. But it's really for a lot of people. And anyone who makes ads, touches ads, anyone that has, like, their job involves having an opinion about creative, you should be taking this course, because there are just so many biases that you have that are getting in the way of you making more powerful, scalable ads, like making them more powerful and making a greater quantity of them. So that's the whole shtick, the whole pitch.
That's the whole shtick. I gotta get specific. I want the sneak peek. Give me one tactic, one high impact thing that people are going to go, oh, you're right, I do have to buy Barry's full course.
I can't give it all. I can't give you the secret, but really it's just about it's just like anyone can make stuff, right? That's one of the biggest keys. And it's just like a series of things to unlock. And that's the first one. So many people I work with in the space are just absolutely allergic to making anything themselves. And if just the number of times I've seen someone who isn't tasked with making ads go and make something, and then that thing worked, particularly founders, not founders who want to be, it's not the founders who want to be like, hey, I'm so-and-so, the founder of whatever. It's not that.
Right.
But it's the founder who deeply understands the problem, especially if they had the problem themselves. It's anyone involved in the food chain who can just make something with a Post-it note, write something, just get the ideas out of their head and not have to deal with 20 people or 2 people. Just do it yourself. That's the first main principle that we're going to be digging into and also, where do you get inspiration from? How do you get good inspiration rather than just looking at an ads library? What content is your customer looking at? Not what other brands should you replicate. So that's a big part of how to do that.
So one thing I consciously do as I'm onboarding a new client is I find who 4 or 5 of their top competitors are. I look at their ad creative and I try to figure out, where is there a hole where they aren't making this type of content?
Yeah.
For example, I just onboarded a client this week in the they're in a team leadership space. And all their big competition, all of their ads are like abstract background with text. And I went, this is leadership and people. There's no pictures of people in any of these ads.
Yeah.
And just broadly, marketers know you get a picture of someone's face, that tends to stop the scroll pretty well. But my first thought is test against everybody else in the market. When I see what everyone is doing, I go, can I go the other way? Is that a valid strategy, or am I an idiot?
Oh, so there's 2 points I want to get to. I'm going to try and remember both. The first is, I love what you just said, because you're talking about acknowledging survivorship bias, right? Just looking at what everyone else is doing and then just making what everyone else is doing is just being like, okay, this is what works. And if you don't take a second to be like, wait a second, what's all the other stuff we aren't doing? They're not doing, maybe they're not doing it because they've tried it. Maybe. Probably not.
Probably not. Yes.
Probably not. So it's, how do you find that other stuff? That's the space I love to live in. And I'm just so thrilled to hear you say that. I just love anytime someone says that, because survivorship bias is such a big problem for marketers. They only know what they know and they've experienced. They don't know what they don't know. Brutally, so many marketers just believe, okay, this thing about images works. This thing about this video works. I remember when one of my least favorite things is, I haven't heard this question in a while, but it still comes up sometimes, is what's your ratio of images to videos? And it's like how many ads you have in an account, and or what's working better for you, images or videos? And I'm like, it doesn't matter, because you don't know how hard I'm working on my images or how hard I'm working on my videos, or what the quality of them is, or what. There's so many variables there. It doesn't matter if it's 60-40 or 40-60. It doesn't matter.
Right.
It just fundamentally doesn't, because it matters if one of them is good or one of the other is good. It messes everything up. Yes. Avoiding survivorship bias, being aware of survivorship bias is massive. The other thing I actually want to disagree with you about for a second, minor, the face thing. You are right. I would want to humanize the ad that you were talking about, right? Humanizing it, 100% I'm with you. My hypothesis, and this is a hypothesis and I could be wrong, but my hypothesis is actually, when you show a face in an ad, if the face is not recognizable, people don't care, or they can care less. Because if they see a face that they don't know, why would they continue watching it? Unless they are given a really good reason to. So one small trick I often recommend is, like, I'll literally use clips or like a photo of something where like the product is like blocking the face. Well, there's a person there, right? Well, there's a person there, and I'll do this in hooks of videos too, where I'll like literally hide behind something. So you look at it and you're like, oh, is that a friend of mine? Or, oh, what celebrity is that? Or, so it's a subconscious thing that I believe is where people are trying to, in the first second, they're trying to decide if they're going to continue to watch this content or not. And people don't want to see ads. That's, again, the whole thing about Make Ugly Ads, is making stuff that people want to see, or at the very least, stuff that people don't hate immediately. And that's what most ads don't get over that subconscious ad blocker. Mm-hmm. I can make someone pay attention for a little bit longer, more people pay attention for a little bit longer by them not knowing who they're looking at. That's a tactic I actually play with. I'm not saying that will work 100%.
Test everything.
Right? Yeah, test it and play with it. Test it a lot. And it's not even about the actual blocking the face thing. It's just about like testing the psychology. What is the psychology of that? Mm-hmm. Why would that maybe work? And I've gotten to that hypothesis from just observing lots of ads. And sometimes I'll be like I try to just make stuff with my expertise, and then make a lot of stuff and then go review it after it's performed. And then that's how I learned something like, oh, you know what? I think obscuring the face early on is helpful. And because I've seen it by accident, and now I've replicated it. And I'm like, okay, it seems to work in a lot of cases here. It's not going to make a bad ad work, but it might make an okay ad work better.
And get this pro tip and dozens more at Building Ads with Barry.
That's right. BuildingAdsWithBarry.com. Yeah, that's something we'll definitely be talking about more. A lot of other like weird little like psychological hypotheses like that.
That's brilliant. I love it. Now I'm going to have to test this with the next set of commercials I shoot. So you bought like billions. That's with a B.
I don't think I've crossed $1 billion of ad spend of my own, like managing, but I've definitely reviewed billions of dollars worth of ad spend, just getting access. If I get an access to an ad account, I'm going in there, I'm sorting by amount spent, and I'm reviewing hundreds of millions of dollars to spend immediately and looking at what's spent.
Awesome. So you've reviewed billions of dollars.
That's what I like to say. Yeah.
And you've touched on some of these. What's an example of a common misconception that people are applying when they say, oh, this is a good ad versus this is a bad one?
A common misconception. There's a lot.
Oh, yeah.
I think there's still a lot of, it's still just always like marketers just want the prettier thing. Like they're always trying to they're always trying to identify the prettiest thing to them about the ad rather than the most relatable thing to the consumer. So that's the biggest misconception, is don't go and review the ad through your eyes. Go and look at it through your customer's glasses. I'd have to say that's the most common misconception. I don't know if it's a misconception, but yeah.
One thing I like to point out to clients is there are lies, there are damned lies, and there are statistics. And the reporting you get from Facebook, from Google, from HubSpot, from Salesforce, anywhere, you should assume is lying to you until you can prove it is not.
Yeah.
And a lot of people go, I'll give an example of a buyer journey I just took. I saw an ad for a particular brand of sleep masks, maybe 9, 10 times on Facebook. Never clicked on one. Christmas is here. You can buy for my wife a gift. I've Googled the brand name. And then, of course, because this is Google, the first result's an ad.
Yeah.
So I click that.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Go to their website. This is now a Google attributed sale.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so anybody's going to go, oh, we should decrease our Facebook spend and increase our Google spend so we earn more income. And sure, of course, test it, but watch what happens, because dark social, unattributable social, and just assumptions are going to screw you.
Yeah.
So you think digital marketing tells you truths, and it also tells you lies.
Yeah. I mean, I couldn't relate more. I love what you just said so much. Like, one of my favorite things to say is that, sure, numbers don't lie, but marketers do. Or it's more likely that not that they're lying, but that they're just wishful thinking, or they believe things are working. They believe the numbers too much without questioning it.
Yes.
And that's kills me, is the number of people who just like, oh yeah, this number is bigger, like success, without questioning it, without being incentivized to question it. It kills me, because that example you just gave is such a perfect, obvious problem. But there's so many more exact same problems. They're so much harder to comprehend, especially for people who are haven't been in the game for as long. They just can't comprehend. Like, one thing, like, a lot of people don't know that when you talk about click attributable optimization, click attributable ads, or conversions, click attributable conversions on Facebook, like, people think it means, okay, you clicked on a link and they went to the site and then they convert, and we track that. Yeah. But also, it's actually click attributable based on any click on the ad.
Yes.
So someone clicks on the comments and then later they go buy within 7 days, that gets attributed to that ad if that's the last click. Now, same thing you just said about Google. If that person's already in the market to buy anyway, and Facebook's just lobbing an ad in front of them to hope that they're going to click and comment on it, maybe that's driving a sale, but it's probably not really doing anything good for your business. But it's going to make that ad that you clicked on get an extra conversion credit. And that happens at scale. And it's not like I'm trying to tell like spooky ghost stories about ad accounts. Like, this stuff at large scale happens. Yeah. This is happening for big accounts. The bigger your account is, the more you're spending, the more traffic sources you have, the more the system is just going to do stuff like that isn't really in your best interest, but it's going to look good. It's going to make your ad account look really good. And marketers love when their numbers look good. It makes them feel so good.
It does, but then you end up with the paradoxical, and I have seen this before at scale, where you have every ad channel shows it is making you money, and your margins are such that you're losing money every month, and you're like, how the hell? And it's because conversions are getting counted 2 or 3 times as you look at the journey.
Yeah.
And so part of building a sensible revenue picture for a business is like, if you've got 12% margins or 8% margins, like, you're going to have a real bad time using performance to make your business go, unless your ACV is super high.
Right.
So like, those problems are an obvious one when you dive into it. But again, newer marketers, they just fall right down the hole.
Yeah. And they have to. They can't help it. There's one other interesting thing I've thought about recently that I want to share with you in case you see this. I've seen lots of instances where, even though the ads are not driving as much value as the brand thinks or wants, that they think that it's doing so well that they spend more, right? And then fundamentally, just by the act of spending more, the brand does even better than they even realize. So hilariously, they are like, they are believing the data even though the data is lying,
Right.
to get them to spend more. But then spending more is actually bringing them more business, even though it's not as effective as it could be. It could be more effective, but they don't know that because they're just happy with this number. But they're spending more, so they're like, "Oh, it's working. Look, see, it's working."
When you do
Therefore,
the
we don't
right
need to
thing
improve it.
for all the wrong reasons.
Right.
Yes. Excellent. All right. This course emphasizes starting with empathy.
Yeah.
And you and I both discussed we're kind of a-holes. How do you balance the inherent rogue nature of a lot of marketers, right? The ones who are trailblazing to be like,
Right.
I don't care about your feelings.
Mm-hmm.
We want to go with the truth. But then you got to bring empathy into the copy, the design, the presentation. How do you make that work?
I think I am really deeply empathetic. Like personally, I try and run anything through what is the other person thinking or feeling. I might not always reflect that as well, or maybe it's just I don't care as much, but that's just a personal thing. But when it comes to ads, you have to just get into their shoes. Especially, I wouldn't think about you by looking at me, but like one of my main clients is a women's vaginal supplement brand. And I have to that is not me, right? Like I am not the audience for that.
No.
But I have had to learn so much about this, not necessarily I don't have to know that much about the product, but I need to know a lot about why someone would consume this product and what would lead someone there, what problems they're having that bring them there. And once you start to understand that, then it's so much easier to write. It's so much easier to make stuff that matters to those people. And that empathy carries from the ad to the website. Again, I'm not saying to make ugly websites. I don't really care, but make sure that you're making stuff not just to look good so you look professional. Focus more on story and focus more on the consumer experience. Write for the consumer, not for the brand, and you'll see better performance. That goes for ads and for landing pages, anything for the consumer. Put everything in terms of their experience as much as you can, and not about why your brand is so good, and you'll have more success. And listening is the key. Listen to your customers, interview customers, pay your customers to make content for you, or incentivize them to, or just ask them. A lot of brands will just ask them to, and they'll happily make you free content that you can use in ads in perpetuity. Some people are very proud for that. So yeah, listen is the key, I think.
One of the courses I've taught for almost a decade now is called No One Cares About Your Stupid Product.
I love that.
Because when you frame this as what they get out of using your product, maybe they care.
Right.
But no one wants new and improved. Some new widget, I could not care less. But if you go, Trevor, never worry about your mustache's pointiness again. All right, I'm here for it. What do you got for me, right?
Yeah, exactly. And times have changed. New and improved probably mattered more before 1990. I don't know.
Back here in the 50s?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Right? But everything's now novel. Everything is new. Everything is improved constantly. So that itself is not unique anymore. And certainly not just saying it, right? There's so many things like that you can just say, oh, we're great, we're this, we're whatever. But it's just the same as every brand can say that. So every brand can technically be empathetic, and every brand can make user-focused language too. And that's going to become a more and more challenging problem.
I'm trying to imagine Oracle being user-centered.
Yeah. I don't know. I wonder if they are. They probably make some, I don't know. I'd have to go look.
Fair enough. All right. I always like to ask, as we're reaching the end of a discussion, what is a book, fiction or nonfiction, that you think founders should read?
I don't know if you can see some of these here.
I can see the books, and I can see some of those titles.
Probably the beer book is probably the most important one, I'd say, obviously. No, help but have to say Radical Candor.
Ooh.
It depends, because 5 Dysfunction of a Team is really good. Never Split the Difference is good. But the most important one, I have to think, if you were to read no other books and and you have to work with other people, and it's really about being able to, and for sure, Radical Candor. Because in this game where you're making ads and you have to work with other people, you have to, if you're doing video, you're working with editors, or you're working on stuff yourself, or you're working with creators, or you're working with a brand team, you're working with whoever. You need to disagree. You cannot just do what someone else says just because they say they like it, they do it. You have to get comfortable with saying to someone like, with care and kindness, I think you could do this better, or I think we can do this better, or we can work on this. The whole concept of continuous improvement is so important to me. Even if I'm the best at something, or I want to be the best, or I think I'm the best at something, even if we want to agree we're the best at something, you can still improve. And that mindset is so important. And when you get people to collaborate on that with that mindset, you can't really, you're less likely to have your feelings hurt or hurt someone else's feelings when you care about each other and you care about working together to solve that problem. So that might not just be that book. That might be a few books combined, but I have some other books here, but that's the one main one. I like that question too.
That's a good recommendation. I've been recommending on the podcast off and on for the last couple of months.
These two also are next to me on my desk.
Ooh, nice.
Propaganda is important. Shout out to Sarah Levinger, who I think told me I need to read that. I think that was her.
I've been recommending an old one a couple times now on this podcast recently called The Road Less Traveled by M. Scott Peck.
Okay.
Which is, again, you want to talk about your empathy and your connection.
Yeah.
I read that book when I was, I think, 18 for the first time. And I don't know why. I wasn't in a relationship. I never had a girlfriend. But I don't know. I thought, oh, this is Robert Frost. Oh, no, it's not. But went into it, and it teaches you so much about how to get through, whether it's a co-founder, whether it's a boss, like whatever, and have the right grounding for if you want to build that radical candor. Where are you in your relationship with them to be able to embrace that?
Yeah. Yeah. No, I love that. That's great.
So you mentioned...
Go ahead. To reread that. Sorry, go ahead. You go ahead.
Okay. You mentioned you're a little nervous about launching this first course.
Yes.
What have you had to grapple with as Barry to feel like, you know what? I am good enough. I am kind enough, and gosh darn it, people like me.
I think I love that question. I love the research that also, I think you saw a tweet of me saying something about I was a little nervous. I appreciate that. It's a good question. I think I actually am not someone who struggles with imposter syndrome. I'm a confident, annoyingly confident guy. I think my wife, trying to knock her, she's not as confident. I think my confidence frustrates her. I imagine my confidence is extremely frustrating to a lot of people. I don't know where it comes from. I have no problem getting up in front of an audience and embarrassing myself. It doesn't bother me. However, I obviously have some things that might embarrass me. And I think in general, like the idea of me launching a course, just the broad thing of it, like I just don't like that there's like a shilling aspect of it that's kind of attached with this guru course space. And I just I don't like being affiliated with that. But at the same time, I'm not doing that. I'm not someone who like took a course about how to make a course. In fact, I haven't taken a course about how to make a course, which maybe is a bad idea. But I'm working with the team of professionals who are helping me produce this course, which is amazing. And I've seen success in Dara, my friend Dara Denny's course, which was certainly not shilly at all. She made a great course with fantastic content. I've seen Mr. Paid Social, Caleb, he's also made a great course. And watching these people who I consider peers and experts who have good things to say and things that I co-sign and agree with, maybe you'll disagree with a little bit, but they put it out there and there's an audience for that. And I've been asked for this for a while from enough people that don't want to pay me my hourly consulting rate to learn a little bit from me.
There you go.
So for the amount that for less than the amount you'd pay me for an hour of my time, you're going to get an offload of pretty much everything that I can give to a brand. So much so that I'm actually concerned I'm going to cannibalize my own business, but I'm not really. It'll be fine. There's enough to go around. And I genuinely believe this. The better that we all make ads, the less people will hate ads. And when I say make ugly ads, I'm not trying to say make ugly ads to piss off consumers. No, I'm saying make ugly ads. So you're making stuff that like isn't the pretty garbage that consumers want to ignore. Make stuff that is unskippable. Make stuff that they want to consume. Make fun things. Make things that help them. Make things that relate. So, yeah. Back to your question of, I'm nervous about it because I don't know. I don't want people to think I'm like a sellout or whatever it is, but I'm getting over it.
I love the irony of the marketer who's self-conscious about self-marketing.
I know. I've been my whole career like making money for other people, and I
There you
like
go.
doing that. I like the external pressure. I have ADHD, so I'm better with external pressure than forcing myself. That's the thing I'm struggling with the most is like getting through making this,
Yeah,
but it's coming.
I feel you. Awesome. All right. Let me ask you then to close this out.
Sure.
Who do you love to talk to and help
Like a specific person?
as a potential person who should reach out to Barry Hott or Big Hott on Twitter?
Oh, yeah. Great question. Anyone who has look, I wish I could market this better. I'm an incredible problem solver of just ad problems. Not enough people come to me with their weird like ad problems. In fact, people don't even realize they have ad problems. So like the thing I'm best at is like going through an account and just like helping understand what's actually going on or what might actually be going on, because a lot of people have like beliefs and they're usually wrong. So yeah, just like I get all up in there, try and find, it's when people think like retargeting campaigns work well, or they think like this campaign works well in tandem with this campaign. But in reality, it's just that like this one campaign looks good and the other one does. It's trying to solve those problems. It's anyone who needs more and better creative. It's anyone who is at a threshold and can't break through to the next level. That's usually where I can come in. And then that's where I usually wind up doing the problem solving, is like being like, oh, hey, you guys made this change to your website 6 months ago, and that actually hurt your subscriber rate, which is your checkout subscription rate, which has made your business not as scalable as it once was. It improved conversion rate, but you have less subscribers now. That's a problem. So like sniffing out those problems, and like you said before, like finding the stuff that people aren't looking at and trying to scratch at that.
Excellent. Where's the best place for these people to find you?
I have a very Googleable name. I like to just tout that. I just say, I don't know, Google Barry Hott, Google Make Ugly Ads. But yeah, I'm Bing Hott on Twitter or X, Barry Hott on YouTube, Hott, HOTgrowth.com or buildingadswithbarry.com. And also I own a piece of AdCrate. That's adcrate.co, a performance creative agency. So if you want performance creative for your brand, we do it in an amazing way that we align our incentives so that we can help you build and make scalable ads that help grow your business over time.
Awesome. You have any last thoughts you want to use to wrap the show up with a bow?
Yeah, just make ugly ads. I think I've said that enough. But yeah, just like literally, if you've just listened to this or watched this, just go make an ad. Like take a step away, go get a drink of water, go to the bathroom, and then go make an ad. Take a photo, shoot a video. I don't care. Just go make something.
Awesome. Barry, I really appreciate you coming on board. I appreciate that you are doing building ads with Barry. I think not
Thank
enough
you.
people make good educational resources on how to make good ads. And anybody who's watching, go follow Barry on X and make sure you subscribe to this show for more insight, for more great thinkers next year, because this is the last show of 2024,
What
baby.
an honor. That's awesome. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, everybody. All right. Thanks so much, Barry. Take care, man.
Thank you so much for having me.